Hey, good morning, guys, and thanks for checking out the latest forecast analysis here in Long Range Update. Michael Clark here with BAM Weather. We're going to talk about the potential for a classic Miller A type nor'easter coming in here this weekend, and the potential to blanket the coastal U.S. with feet of snow, measuring snow in the feet versus the inches, possibly. Major snowstorm possible. Continued cold air. It's going to be very cold for the next several weeks. And then another Ohio Valley mid-Atlantic winter storm by the end of the first week of February. So this is going to be a very informative video with a lot to discuss. So let's get right into it. Of course, this storm went through, broke a lot of records, offered up a lot of snowfall. These snow totals here are still not actually final or completely updated. For example, this has Indianapolis at 10.6. We ended up with 11.2 inches of snow officially, made for the largest single day snowstorm in history, or the most snow in the day for January 25th. Broke a record yesterday for that. Many locations, though, dealing with catastrophic ice reports of an inch of ice from Greenville, South Carolina, Oxford, Mississippi, Lexington, Mississippi, over to Pointer, Kentucky, 3/4 of an inch, Concord, North Carolina, a half inch of ice. So just a absolutely devastating ice storm for many locations in the Deep South, especially in northwestern Mississippi, western Tennessee there, and far northwestern South Carolina. Some really hard-hit areas there with ice. But you can see the expansiveness of snow in a swath of a foot or more that just went, it just covered so much. It's crazy how much it covered. This is a look here at more of a higher res version of snowfall. Anywhere you see that first shade of kind of dirty yellow, if you will, or a little bit of an orange color, that's a foot or more of snow. And it'll continue to update and populate here and correct, but just crazy numbers. Anytime you come through southern Indiana and you add in, you say there's 16.5 inches of snow, that's quite remarkable. There's no question about it. Where I live, in this green dot right here, I clocked 13 inches of snow. This is 12.79. Just south, it's 12.79. And so very, very close. This data does pretty well with indicating how much snow fell. Right here at the airport in Indy, it's saying 9.8. They clocked 11.2, but there's a big difference there, just in the county there. So, just a big snowstorm impacted a ton of folks, and a job well done here on the forecast side of things. But this is what we're going to switch focus to, which is the potential for a Miller Type A storm track, which is where a surface low develops down in the very far southern portion of the country, tracks on up the East Coast, never really goes inland, deepens, bombs out, what we call bombogenesis, if you will, where the low can deepen 24 millibars in 24 hours or 1 millibar per hour and turn into just a straight up blizzard up and down the East Coast. I certainly think it's possible, and it's kind of what we're going to talk about here in the short term of things for the next threat of wintry weather, if you will. So zoom in a little bit on Synoptic WX. These models, by the way, are free to access right now. We're in the beta version. A lot to add here, a lot to come. Now, in the short term of it, it's very cold in the Midwest. Temperatures are going to be feeling like 20 below zero for multiple days. There'll be a couple snow chances in there too, but this storm system, it really takes on the look of a classic Miller A storm on the evening European model and the AI data as well. Surface low would develop Saturday morning, 7 a.m., and start to wrap in cold air quickly behind it. Quickly, because I say there's the polar vortex really in a huge Arctic high all the way down into Texas. But we're going to be flooding in the west side of this with very cold Arctic air and just unlimited moisture from the Atlantic. It really is a classic situation for a monster snowstorm right in through here somewhere. I mean, it's really, really is. How far west it can go is going to be limited by high pressure. And how far, out to sea it can go will be a little bit limited by how strong this low becomes. The stronger the low comes, the more these lows are enticed to go poleward, which is north and west. So you get this baroclinic zone, this baroclinicity, this battle zone where the storm breaks out, which is why it's like this. This is why this is an old school map. It's been around for decades. It highlights the Miller-Ray type storm systems. So you can see what this does. This thing just bombs out into a 976 millibar low pressure with unbelievable wind field and extremely heavy snow, very cold temperatures. Let me move this up a little bit as it's snowing. Someone asked me on X a little bit ago, are the temperatures cold enough to warrant the Kuchera method for snowfall totals? Absolutely they are. You're dealing with something here that's just crazy. Wind gust forecast as that type of snow is falling up and down the coast, 50 mile per hour winds from the evening European model, and this is hour 150. But nonetheless, I'll show you why I have a little more confidence in this in just a moment. But you know, this has all the makings to be one for the books. I don't have any reason to believe otherwise right now. You look at the AI data; it's very similar. A little bit slower, but very similar in its track here. That's the 0Z. The 6Z was a little bit more in line there. Again, this would be a blizzard. I mean, straight up, you'd have blizzard warnings for 100 million people up and down the East Coast. So, reason being, I'm really on board with this. Strong ensemble support from evening EPS on the centers, the low pressure centers. This storm gets its act together right here, and there's strong agreement here by Sunday afternoon of just a good setup. And this is the EPS, the GEFS ensembles. Similar, I think the GFS operational, the model itself is out to lunch. I wouldn't necessarily put too much stock into it right now. It's trying. It's just a little bit too far out east there, in my opinion. I don't believe it's just a storm that sits off the coast with a low that strong. You're going to see classic northwest corrections from the GFS because that's what the GFS does. It corrects northwest. So with that said, early snow numbers, if you were to look at this just from a 10-to-1 perspective, are crazy high. But as I said, this storm is cold enough for the Kuchera numbers. We're actually changing our color table for this, by the way, because it's probably going to break it, which it is. And we stop it. We've changed it, but the maps haven't reflected it. When we update, we'll have a new color table here. So, nonetheless. Crazy look there from the European. Go to the AI and the 6Z, and we don't have the Kuchera on the AI. It's just a 10-to-1, but again, classic indications here. And if I had to draw where I think this is really going to be a big deal, I think it's probably something. Got to be careful with South Carolina too, because those are tough, but. This is probably where this thing is, and I don't know if it can go much west of this line. I don't know if snow will get west of this. I really don't. So something to keep in mind. Again, we're out here a bit. We got some adjustments to make, but there's strong ensemble agreement, and the reason for that is, when you look at this upper level pattern. And the height anomaly here at 500 millibars, you can certainly see the indication here. Let me zoom out a little bit. We're in a beta version of this, but we have all the players are on the field for this to be a nor'easter. So, nonetheless, let's talk about where we're going to go beyond that. I think we have the potential to stay cold. This is the look at the GEFS. This is the velocity potential anomalies, the forecast out through the 1st of March. And this just tells us where is there upward motion or convection and where is there sinking air, right? So we have this dual forcing profile where you have upward motion around 120 and upward motion around 60. And these types of patterns can fool people because a lot of people think, well, this is a warmer signal because we have convection in the western, in the phase 5 and 6, but the dual forcing pattern can allow for higher latitude blocking in the AO and NAO regions, which necessarily means if you lose the EPO it doesn't mean that you can't still get cold and have winter and have the risk for it. So I looked at years that had dual forcing patterns. One of the most recent years that had a dual forcing pattern was that of 2010. Okay. I looked at several years, but that's one of the more recent ones that featured dual forcing late January into February. So it helps me kind of gauge where I want to go with this. And I looked at Januaries that had what those patterns were like in general during these years. Okay. And then I looked at and it's pretty close. And then I looked at what it's been like the last 14 days. Just an observation. All right. It's pretty close. I looked for it to talk to each other, the dual forcing and the analogs, and they're talking to each other. So then I want to see what it does for February. And why, you guys are probably up there in New England, why is it warm up here? It's because of blocking. It's an NAO. It's a huge Greenland block in this pattern. All right. And so that's why you're seeing that warmer analog up there. But the corridor opens up for Arctic air and an active storm track, something like this too, or like that. Maybe one that comes up in like this. You're going to have a couple of big storms in February. You look at the precipitation pattern, it indicates that, and we're already seeing this come to fruition on days 5, 6, and 7 of the European right here. Now, I will tell you, as this pattern can relax and pull back to the north and west, you will have a storm, a bigger storm, that will probably come up through here somewhere like this. It will happen. You'll get one, this will be the first one, and then you'll get a second one that does this as the PNA and the Pacific Northwest ridging pulls back and retracts a little bit. It's kind of a classic indicator of that. So what do we see, right? So here's that storm. And again, the reason I'm confident in this is that west-based negative NAO there over the Hudson Bay, the strong blocking west of Greenland. They've got the old 50-50 low set up there, and it's just this classic signal. Beyond that, what I want you to watch is watch the Pacific Northwest, Alaska, and the higher latitudes. Watch the poleward progression of the ridging. See that? That's how you're going to pull back this storm track back into the Ohio Valley in the mid-Atlantic here by the end of the first week or the beginning of the second week of February. Sometime between the 7th and the 10th of February, you're going to set up a pattern favorable for a bigger winter storm in here again. I'm just telling you, it's going to be more of an inland deal versus the one coming that's going to be a coastal deal. When you pull this back like this, you pull the pattern back, it retrogrades back, and you set it up for another shot of Arctic air, right? Writing's kind of on the wall for that. Look at this. Look at the polar vortex. Watch this towards the end. We split that thing in half on the European op. It's been doing it a couple of runs now, a couple of days. You do that, and it's a split at all levels. What you're doing here is you're allowing for the coldest air on the planet to set up a direct channel into the United States. And from what I would call, this setup would promote a cross-polar flow. And I'll show you in just a second. But you get a lobe of the coldest air on the planet here. You get storm track through here. And every storm that comes through, you draw down incredibly cold Arctic air like you're going to do. This is going to be a pattern where the models probably think it's going to get warm, and then it doesn't. As it rolls forward, it stays colder because the polar vortex is here. There's a source region for cold. Even if the EPO starts to fade away, which we think that it can, even if it does not indicate that we can get warm. And there's a reason, because the setup is it's ideal. Watch the cross-polar flow develop by day 11. Right there. See it bleed in all the way over from Russia. Look at this. That's the AIFS. You get into the upper air heights by day 15. Again, you can see the retrogression. And by mid-February, it's possible that you could lose the EPO and the WPO, but you could keep a version of the PNA, the negative AO, and the negative NAO, which again yields to what I think February can look like for temperatures, which is this. Okay, so any type of moderation, if you will, or the pattern getting warmer and winter ending in the east, I'm not on board with that right now. Maybe a pullback from as intense as it is right now, but I'm not on board with ending it right now. The North American Ensemble Forecast System, I agree with this. If anything, you could pull this back and open up the gate for a little bit colder in here as well, based on that. Look at the snow potential just from the European Weekly. This is silly. Just in this, that's the pattern I see. I see a big coastal one. I see another Ohio Valley or Mid-Atlantic, a couple of them. That's just what I see. The GEFS extended does the same thing, but the temperature forecast I happen to agree with. Here's week 2. I see no disagreements. Week 3, we open up cross-polar flow, and we're back into cold again. Week 4, we continue to hold it. You split the polar vortex, like the data is suggesting, and you're going to have a hard time warming up anytime soon. Even if you don't split it, even if you just displace it and put it down into Canada and the Hudson Bay, getting warm is going to be pretty difficult. So that's all I have for you today. Tell a friend, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Talk to you soon.